Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, you'd have no reason to know this, but it was 5 years ago yesterday, March 15th, that I launched this YouTube channel, Justice Matters, by posting my first legal analysis video. And I just want to take a couple of minutes this morning to pay tribute to the person who named this YouTube channel. My friend, my best friend, Cameron, Cam, who we lost last night. You may have heard me tell this story, or you may have read where I posted this story over the years. I didn't come up with the name Justice Matters. Frankly, I'm not all that creative a guy. I was sitting around a fire pit one night with my buddy Cam, and I was telling him, I get a little frustrated when I'm talking on TV and I only get 3 minutes to discuss the legal issue of the day. And given that, one, the legal issues themselves can be really complex and challenging to unpack and understand, and two, there's so much damn disinformation, propaganda, and lies thrown into the mix about what's really going on the legal front, that I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And I asked Cam, do you have any ideas about what I should call it, what I should name it? And I think it took him all of about a minute to come up with, how about Justice Matters? It has the benefit of having two meanings, right? You're talking about matters that involve justice. And I think to the vast majority of us, justice matters. And in that instant, the name was chosen and cemented. And now we've been at it for 5 years, posting a legal analysis video damn near every day. And Cam has been with me every step of the way, supporting me in every way he could. Let me just tell you a little bit about Cam. Cam was an incredibly smart, incredibly kind, incredibly loyal person. In fact, one of the smartest people I've ever met. No matter the subject we discussed, he had a depth of true knowledge on every topic that I found astonishing and impressive. And I had such deep admiration for Cameron. He was also a very generous man, perhaps generous to a fault. And you know what? If you have to have a fault, generosity is not a bad one to have. Somewhat surprisingly, Cam was also a biker, and he loved his trips to Sturgis with his biker buddies. If you looked at him, you would think, man, that guy's a badass. But those of us who knew him knew he was a great big teddy bear. And Cam loved his family, fiercely loved his family, his wife, his 2 kids, and not just his wife and kids, but his brothers and their families. And I came to learn about one of the most amazing streaks that I've ever heard about. Cam and his 2 brothers, those 3 men are as close as 3 men could possibly be. They talked with each other every Saturday, first on the phone, and then in more recent years on video conferences, every single Saturday since 1985. Cam was always there for his friends, and Cam was always there for me and for my wife. And my gosh, he will be missed. Rest peacefully, my dear friend. Okay, friends, let's turn to the legal issue of the day. And frankly, I hope you didn't have to watch Donald Trump's disgusting, disrespectful, propaganda-laden speech to those DOJ employees who chose to attend that speech. The speech was in the Great Hall at the Department of Justice, what we call Main Justice, kind of headquarters, if you will, in downtown D.C. And I've been in the Great Hall many times in my decades as a federal prosecutor at the Department of Justice. Usually, we assemble there for some major law enforcement initiative that's being announced, or we go there because there is some ceremony celebrating the good work, the accomplishments of dedicated public servants. But Trump's remarks on Friday weren't a celebration of anything except maybe, his appetite for revenge. His comments were basically just a hate-filled retribution rally. Let's start with the new reporting. This from The Guardian. Headline: Trump vents fury about his criminal cases in extraordinary speech at DOJ. In hour-long victory lap, President railed against Biden officials and their, quote, bullshit case while boosting his lawyers. And that article begins. Taking over the Justice Department headquarters for what amounted to a political event, Donald Trump railed against the criminal cases he defeated by virtue of returning to the presidency in an extraordinary victory lap the department has perhaps never before seen. The event was billed as a policy address for the administration to tout its focus on combating illegal immigration and drug trafficking, but the majority of the president's freewheeling remarks focused instead on his personal grievances with the department. Trump spoke from a specially constructed stage in the Great Hall of the main Justice Building, backed with blue velvet curtains that underscored the theatrics and symbolism of Trump cementing his control over the Justice Department, which had tried and failed to hold him to account. The choice of venue carried additional resonance about how Trump has fully implemented his agenda at the Justice Department, doing away with the long-standing tradition of independence from partisan politics and instead turning it into an extension of the White House. The Great Hall has historically been used for major law enforcement announcements by the Justice Department and its senior leaders, and when presidents have delivered speeches at the building, the remarks have been of a national security or non-political stripe. In Trump's hour-long speech, he repeatedly strayed from his prepared remarks to assail the criminal cases against him, various lawyers and former prosecutors by name, and accused the Biden administration of trying to destroy him, declaring Joe Biden the head of a crime family. Quote, "The case against me was bullshit," Trump said with fury in the building where the charges were approved. But he heaped praise on his defense lawyers, Todd Blanche and Emil Bove, whom he elevated to, in effect, run the Justice Department as the Deputy Attorney General and the Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General, respectively, as well as the department's Chief of Staff, Chad Mizell. The approval Trump expressed for Bove reflected his genuine appreciation. Trump has privately hailed Bove for bringing the department to heel in recent weeks, including by forcing through the dismissal of the corruption case against the New York mayor, Eric Adams, which I would add parenthetically has not been forced through yet. Judge Dale Ho has not yet decided precisely what he's going to do with that case. Stay tuned. Friends, I know this will come as a shock to you, but Trump offered notable praise for the U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon, who dismissed his criminal case on charges of mishandling classified documents over decades of legal precedent. Trump claimed criticism of her made her angry, although he also said he had never spoken to her. Quote, "She was brilliant," Trump said of Cannon, "the absolute model of what a judge should be." Now, friends, before I read the last passage, can I ask you all a question? Who has been the most vocal and vicious critic of judges? Judges who ruled in ways that he didn't like. That's an easy one, right? Donald Trump. Remember the kind of things he would say about Judge Juan Merchan, the New York State Court judge who presided over Donald Trump's criminal trial in which he was convicted of 34 felony crimes? Remember the kind of things he would say and post about Judge Tanya Chutkan, who presided over his federal criminal case in Washington, D.C., for trying to criminally, corruptly, unconstitutionally overturn the results of a presidential election, right? Remember Judge Lewis Kaplan, who presided over the E. Jean Carroll cases, the defamation cases. Remember the kind of things he would say and post about Judge Kaplan? We could go all the way back to Trump 1. Remember the things he used to say about Judge Curiel, attacking him for his Mexican heritage? And the judges like Judge Merchan, Judge Chutkan, and some of the others, remember what happened to them as a result of his vicious criticism of them? They got death threats. Their homes were swatted. That's right, false reports of violent crime at their home were called in, and the SWAT team arrived fully armed. Yeah, that's what happened to these judges as a result of Donald Trump's vocal and vicious criticism and comments about them. Well, now, guess what? Donald Trump has a plan for people who engage in that kind of criticism of judges. You ready for this? Trump, then suggested it should be a crime to criticize judges because they could be influenced by what he described as bad publicity. The remark appeared to be a new idea from Trump, who has previously castigated judges who did not rule in his favor and sought to defend legal cases in public. Quote, "It has to stop. It has to be illegal, influencing judges," Trump said, as his administration now attempts to defend his policies and cost-cutting efforts against a wave of lawsuits. Boy, that remark really does seem unscripted, right? Just something that popped into Donald Trump's head in the moment, that people should be prosecuted for criticizing judges. You know, I think that could fairly be called a self-indictment. Donald Trump is the most vocal and vicious critic of judges. Donald Trump says that people who criticize judges should be prosecuted. Ergo, you know, friends, so much of what Donald Trump says is one kind of self-indictment or another. But in finishing up, let's stay focused on the courts, on the judges, on the trial bench, because they are ruling against Donald Trump time and time again. They are calling out and cutting back his illegality, his unconstitutionality. And to me, as these opinions continue to come out from federal courts all across the country, the federal judiciary seems to be getting stronger by the day, not weaker, notwithstanding Donald Trump's most nefarious attempts to tear down federal judges and the federal judiciary. So we will remain focused on the courts, which are points of light. They're becoming beacons of light, leading the way to truth, to accountability, and to a healthy, indeed viable democracy. So we will keep feeding and focusing on those points of light, those beacons of light. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.